Hi everybody, this is AJ speaking. Today I want to talk about the daily Tesla and equity market update I send every day to my subscribers. Somebody just asked me how to read the analysis, and I realized that I never really explained how to read it. So this is what it looks like. This is one part of what I send every day to my subscribers. This is, for example, right now, this is the most recent week. So we are in 2025, January. These are the last couple of trading weeks. And on another page, I share with subscribers, this is prior weeks, so the final weeks of 2024, and then also share like a large overview of all these weeks where I removed the daily commentary, but I never explained how to read it actually properly. And the reason really is I've been doing this for many, many years. I like to create trading diaries, so I have a way I can quickly go back to key events and see what happened, what are the key metrics, how the market was affected on key events. Because over time, if you do this consistently, you create a very good intuition as to how the market is likely to respond to certain events. And so maybe let's dive right into it. And to help us walk through it, I created um, this slide where we just picked 1 week, and we break it down into the 10 key elements of that weekly overview. As you can see here, I picked week 49 of 2024, and you see all the key elements that are show per week. And we go from left to right. So how can we read this? So first of all, we start at the top left. So you have the week number. The week number is measured by the starting day of the trading week. This is just for navigational purposes, and it shows the performance for that week. So in this week, week 49, Tesla, and here I put the label week number and TSLA change. In that week, Tesla was up 12.8%. So it was a very strong week. And so this is point one. And then in point two, so this box, this is where I focus on the key drivers in that week. So like a weekly summary, as concise as I can make it, and of the key drivers in my view. And what I focus on is on things that move the share price. So I don't discuss any of the Tesla community trivia. Oh, there was a new amazing Cybertruck rep or something like that. I don't discuss these things because they don't move the needle at all. And so I try to filter out all the noise, and I try to focus on really what most likely affected the stock. I mean, nobody really knows what's driving the stock, but you can make some educated guesses, and you can eliminate 99% of noise, I think. And then the third piece is this color coding. This color coding is simply, was this a day where Tesla closed positively, or not? So if the stock was up, even if it's just by the tiniest amount, this will be green. If it's down even by the tiniest amount, this will be red. So it's a very, very simplistic measure here. But when you then look at the large overview we looked at earlier, it quickly lets you identify periods of strengths, multiple sessions closing in the green, or periods of weakness, and you have to think about this analysis over the long term. Once you look at this over 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 16 weeks, you get a sense you have a very clear picture on of the trading strengths or weakness, and you start to see certain patterns emerge, always relative to certain key events. Then the next piece is just here the date of the session. So point 4 and point 5 is where it becomes then more interesting. So I put here the previous session's close, the session's opening price, the low of that session, the highest price that was achieved in that session, and then the closing price. And I put here in the bullets sort of the key things how to read this. So if we start with the first, let's call it pair, the previous close and the open. If you see a um, a significant positive change like it was on that day. So Tesla closed at 345 in the prior session, but opened on that Monday at 352. That means so there was some significant strengths over that weekend or prior to market open on Monday. Here we see the opposite on Tuesday. So here's the close on Monday. This is the same number here. This is then obviously um, the prior sessions close, and you can see this was 357, and then the stock closed down. So you have a sense of what was going on, and the color coding here shows it very quickly. So here strengths into open. So basically strengths into open, weakness into open, strengths into open, strengths into open, strengths into open. And then when you compare this with the lows, so there was very little spread between the open and the low. Here stock selling off, selling off, selling off, but then obviously trading up a lot, and then closing positively, closing negatively. So by looking at these um, markers, you have an idea of what's going on. Strengths before close or not. Was there widespread during trading, and most importantly, did the stock go up or not that day, and how much volatility was going on, and these next measures, they are basically an extension of that, which try to make it easier to analyze this, because by looking at these numbers, it's kind of hard despite the color coding. So for example, this next box, so this is item 6 now, shows you the daily range implied by the session's closing price and the prior session's closing price. So mathematically, this chart shows you how this number and that number compare. So you see prior close was 357 and it closed at 351. So there was a reduction in share price by $5.7. So one valid critique would be, why not show this in percentages? Would be the smarter way of doing it. However, the reality is that traders very often look at absolute share price, even though, like, from a mathematical or more scientific perspective, it doesn't really make any sense. But that's the reality. When you walk trading floors in banks, and I work for investment bank, traders always talk about trading levels, like in certain names, and that's why I show them in this way, and you can actually measure this. There are clear, I call them often, like, emotional thresholds. When a stock reaches a certain round number, it doesn't want to cross it. You can see this very often. I could give you a ton of examples, which make absolutely no sense. For whatever reason, stock is not going over the threshold, and you see that in stock markets there's a lot of irrationality, and whether it's irrational or not doesn't really matter. You just need to account for it and try to take advantage of it. So that's the background here. So if we take this example, how to read this. So on that day, Tuesday, 3rd of December 2024, very narrow trading range. So it closed down $5.7. So it's a very small move in percentages over here, negative 1.6%, so very little. But we discussed this in more detail, because a lot of the things in isolation, they don't mean really anything. But as you take all these components together, a picture emerges. So if we go to the next analytics, which is the low to high range. So the low to high shows you what's the difference between the highest price achieved on a trading day and the lowest price. So on this trading day, this was $8.8. And what this tells you is how similar the bears and the bulls are in their conviction. If you have a very narrow trading range, it means that as soon bears sell the stock or short sellers sell the stock, there's immediately demand catching the stock from falling, and also conversely, as the stock goes up, immediately there is some selling, some short selling going on. So both the bears and the bulls feel similarly, just the other way around. It's a very narrow trading range, but this alone is also not that meaningful. You always have to look at the trading value, and this is not volume. Volume is number of shares traded, but value is a much better metric, because people don't trade in number. Of course, yes, some retail investor might say, oh, I want 1,000 Tesla shares, or 10,000, or whatever the number is, but large investors or more sophisticated investors, they don't think in these terms. They have a certain amount of capital to allocate to a position, and they buy whatever number share this translates into at the current share price. And then over time, if you want to do any type of quantitative analysis, it's much more meaningful to look at these trading values and not volumes in number of shares. And this is exactly what this 0.8 shows you. You see here the estimated trading value in billions of dollars, and you can see that on this Monday there was approximately 28 billion traded. Then it moved down and then recovered meaningfully. And what this tells you is how much interest is in the stock right now. And when you look at significant rallies or pullbacks, you always want to look at the trading value to find out how robust something is. For instance, if you see a meaningful rally, stock being up, 3, 4, 5%, while the market is perhaps trading sideways, and you see very little value traded, this should give you pause, because typically, if there is no new news flow coming in the next day or something, stock usually collapses back in on itself. So all these gains are gone, because little trading value means the stock was pushed higher by not very many investors, or by relatively little money, and because it's not supported by a lot of trading, it's basically built on a weak basis. But the same is true also for a pullback. If you see weakness in the stock, but there's very little trading, this typically also suggests that unless there's more bad news incoming, that the stock quickly bounces. So with that, we will move on to the price changes. So this is just a summary then, so how Tesla performed on the day, and this is based on closing prices. So it's just, for example, this negative 1.6% is simply 351 divided by 357 on that day. So Tesla closed down 1.6% that day, that Tuesday, while the market, so S&P 500 is by almost all investors considered the proxy for the market. So when people talk about the market, they usually mean S&P 500 index. So when I use the word market, I typically refer to S&P 500. Tech, here behind tech sits the NASDAQ Composite Index, which is also considered by most investors as the best proxy for the tech sector. And because Tesla is mostly aligned, if you do, and you can show this quantitatively, Tesla is mostly aligned with tech stocks. So for Tesla, The most relevant indices are really the market index, S&P 500, and the tech index. And because Tesla is, and I explain this a little bit down here, it's a high beta stock. Tesla, depending on how you calculate it, Tesla is around 2.3 to 2.5 times beta. And what this means is simply if the market moves by, let's say, 1%, and there is absolutely no Tesla news and nothing affecting Tesla, on such days, Tesla should move 2.5x of the market. So in this example, you would expect if the market moves up 1%, you expect Tesla to move up 2.5%. That's called beta implied. And the same is true the other way. If the market trades down 1%, you would expect Tesla to trade down 2.5%. So this is very, very basic sort of financial market theory, things that you learn in your first semester. And the global financial industry is built on this, and of course many other principles, but this principle I just laid out is a core part of discount rates used in all financial products. So with that out of the way, we get to the daily commentary. Here I try to boil it down to really the key things, the signal, and I don't mention any of the noise. That is on any given day in the Tesla community, there's a ton of noise, and it's just important to cut through all of that and not get affected by it. Otherwise, you really miss the big picture. And I summarize what happened in these days. And for example, in that week that I picked here just randomly, on Monday, we had the FSD 13 rollout, received a lot of positive comments. That was clearly a positive signal for the stock, and because there was a significant performance improvement visible. Even some Tesla bears turned bullish that made headlines. These things should not be underestimated. And then of course, there were several price target upgrades. They price target upgrades, they're kind of a mixed signal. On some days they can cause huge rallies, happened before, and other days no reaction at all. But because there were so many of them, this clearly had an effect. And in this week, on Tuesday, there was the Kathleen McCormick, the judge who rejected Elon's compact package again, disputed the validity of the compact. This obviously also rattled investors. And then there was news that the Cybertruck line was down for 3 days. Anyways, these are just examples. So every day I summarize the key things that I see in the market, and here this is quite Tesla heavy, but there are also these were actually kind of light news days. I also add market commentary and also touch on key other market indicators in my daily updates to subscribers. So with that, I would close this video. So if you're interested in receiving every day in the morning my summary of what happened to Tesla stock, etc., feel free to go to X. My handle is at Alojo. And once you subscribe, you can go to my profile. You will see this sub tab appear, and then you can review my daily trading analysis. In addition to sharing these tables, I also provide a summary in the post of sort of key items, and I also provide some forward-looking statements when there are some important events coming up. For example, from today's perspective, very soon there's Tesla's 4Q earnings call, which will be very important. And this year it also coincides with the FOMC meeting, so that's going to be a very exciting day. So with that, see you in the next one. Bye bye.